DMR, but it's possible. I know that there was some concern about that earlier in the week. Out of curiosity, Mike and I can change to Talk Group 93 on DMR if you have your DMR radio nearby and can listen for us for a minute just to confirm we're not being heard on that talk group. Yeah, hang on, Jay. I'm not adept at changing talk groups, but I'll be happy to give it a go. radios, same hotspots with the same hotspot setups, except for the DMR numbers. Thanks, man. I'll talk a little bit more to you later. I know you're always multitasking. I appreciate you being here. We're going to start the net in just a minute. AA4FL, starting the Medical Image Radio Council net. I'll talk to you. AA4FL and 9LML. I didn't know if you caught my check-in, sir. And 9LML, Katie4, I said you're getting in just fine. I think Jay may have to answer some problems there locally, but hang in there. And I know. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I'll be standing by. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Marco DVNet. This is JAA4FL, being net control for this session, and the purpose of the Marco Digital Voice Net is to provide a discussion forum for current medical events and issues, and all of us act as topic presenters, of course, directed as net control. Our members include stations from all over the world, national and international. Everyone's welcome to join. You don't have to be a member of the Medical Image Radio Council. But if you do want to have a chance with the microphone, check into net control. We'll explain a little bit more. We've had a number of early check-ins. Before we go into more, are there any check-ins with emergency traffic? If so, go ahead and make your call this time. Okay, none heard with emergency traffic. Are there stations that are in short-term time and won't be able to stay throughout the net? Please let me know. Call AA4FL this time. Okay, nothing heard in that regard, but we do have 8 early check-ins already, and regular check-ins, including myself. KF5LHS is going to be listening on Chip's audio stream. K3FZT, KD4IZ, PY2BBQ, N3IM, and 5RTF, WJ8B. Are there any other stations that would like to check in at this time? Please make your call. And 9LML, November 9, Oscar, Mike, Lima. Good morning, Howard, and 9LML. Glad you could join us again. Any other stations that would like to check into the Medical Amateur Radio Council net? Go ahead and make your call. I say they're all free. And we have Mel, WW6AA, with us from California. Good early morning to you, Merrill. Unless you happen to be an early waker like me, where you're already midway in your morning. 8 o'clock is always work time around here. But I'm glad you could leisure with us. Any other stations for check-in for the Medical Amateur Radio Council? Make your call. Just to finish a little bit of housekeeping, weekly on Saturdays, 1500 UTC. I usually serve as net control, WA1EXA. Mark also helps out as net control. And we appreciate everyone that comes by and checks in. Lately, we've been doing a lot of traffic regarding COVID and talking about local conditions and changes in research, but we're certainly not limited to that. And any guests that are listening that would like to check in or just monitor, you're welcome to. We are the Medical Amateur Radio Council. Our group consists of individuals in health fields, so it's not just medical doctors. It can be people that are EMTs or veterinarians, so researchers, scientists. We got a nice mix of opinions and input here, but I don't want anyone to think it's just a group of doctors that are meeting. Firstly, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a doctor of dentistry. I'm going to drop one here. So the advantage of checking in is we have a list here, check-in list that we'll work off of for the roundtable discussions. And even if you're not in the health field and you want to ask questions, well, go ahead and check in. We'll get you on the roundtable and ask away. We're here to help. We're not practicing medicine here. We're just doing fellow public service for fellow hams in the amateur community. And we do have an HF net that works to discuss just COVID. Again, it's not a COVID net. We also have an HF net that does medical topics. This is really more of a mix of social and professional. So, again, don't hesitate to check in. Any other check-ins? Go ahead and make your call this time. W1HNN. Harry, it's great to have you here again. It's good to hear your voice once again. W1HMM, AA4FM, the Marco Amateur Radio Council Digital Voice Net. And just a few items of housekeeping again. We don't want to tail the person that's transmitting. Give a little bit of time after their transmission. We are on a quad-net array. And it's transcoding all these transmissions. Let's give every computer and every radio, every repeater, let's give everything a chance to reset in between. So wait a couple of seconds after keying up to allow these repeaters to synchronize with each other and computer equipment. Are there any other check-ins? Go ahead and make your call at this time. Okay, well, none of these being heard at this time. I'll try to remember to give us opportunity for late chickens. I'm having personally some problems on the DMR side that seems to be local equipment. If anybody else is having noticing issues with DMR, let me know. But I know it's a problem on our side because three of us are using basically the same hotspot in the setup, and we're all having trouble hearing other stations on our hotspot. So if anyone knows anything about Redmeister making changes on the network, because we're coming in through the talk group there, just let us know. Maybe at the end of the net, hang out here. Drop one. There was a question about a Zoom session, and perhaps I've missed something. I've been a little busy lately, but we had set up Zoom sessions the last 2 weeks before and after the net, and I was under the impression that we were just going to do it for the two. And I'd be more than happy to do Zoom sessions, but if we're going to do a social Zoom session or a technical support Zoom session, I'd rather do it on an evening. So you guys think about that and discuss that with me in the round table. If you think that a social Marco activity where we do technical support also would be beneficial. I'm having a hard time with Saturday mornings. It interferes with family time for me as well as it probably does for many of you as well. So, I mean, occasionally some of us aren't here for that reason. And Valentine's Day in the U.S. and Valentine's Day in Brazil are different times. So there may be more than one Saturday that has conflicts. I'm going to drop one. And thank you to W1EXA who's been filling in for me as net control when I'm not available. I know the reports for me, and I've got K3FCT, and thank you to you, Steve, for all the technical support you offered. And since you're first on the list here, and this is a topic close to your heart, where you've done a lot of volunteerism on the subject, I'm going to go ahead and turn the microphone over to you.
Hey, 4FL and the net, this is K3FZT. Jay, could I ask you what the topic is? I literally just turned up the audio here after finishing a Zoom on WinLink. Over.
No problem at all. K3FZT, AA4FL. Your audio is being driven a little hot there, Steve. So you're getting some distortion. It's really pegging the meter here. So the question is, we appreciate the technical net before and after Zoom session, before and after the net the last 2 weeks. And we're wondering in discussion if perhaps it seems to be also be a nice social activity. Maybe we should have a social Zoom session once a week and just throwing that up for discussion. I'd prefer an evening for that. I'm letting everybody tell their preferences as we roundtable here. That being said, back to you, Steve, K3FZT, AA4FL.
K3FZT. Well, I think Zoom sessions for social interaction are just fine. And we're all adults. People can come and go as they please and shouldn't feel any compulsion or responsibility to join or to remain and be the last person in the group. Over the course of the last 15 months, I've had two consistent social gatherings and many more ad hoc social gatherings on Zoom. And I think people have different degrees of tolerance for them and different interests in the extent of participation. So I think it's a good thing to offer, and people can take it or leave it as it goes. Back to you. Tell me if my audio is better. AA4FL and the group, this is K3FZT.
K3FZT and the group, Yes, the audio was spectacular just right that time. Thank you very much, Stephen, and thank you for the input. I've noticed that some of the ham radio groups are not only doing Zoom as the social activity, but sort of as a net. So, I mean, we could actually have a social net where we have check-ins and have a net control, even though it's by Zoom and listed on NetLogger. And I forgot to mention in the housekeeping that NetLogger is up and running. You can see the check-in. We have 11 check-ins so far. But that would be envisioned that as a possibility. If we were going to do that, everyone that's listening, as you get into your opportunity for you have a social net, tell me which evening would be your preference. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Steve, to answer that question. K3SFT.
Uh, Jay, evenings, I'd encourage you to stay away from uh, Wednesday, actually Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, at least locally. There are many, many nets, and I'm bouncing amongst them. Even Tuesday, it's going to be tough. The substitution of a, a Zoom net for the other regularly scheduled net, I think is a very valuable approach, especially if one thinks of programming uh, in the sense of uh, what are we going to save for the Zoom net that's better done with video than uh, voice alone. Um, our five county digital training net and our Aries, Philadelphia County Aries net, both have used regularly scheduled once a month Zoom sessions to great advantage. Uh, Back to you, K3FZT.
Thank you for the input, Steve. Well received. And yes, I recognize and I had not considered the video aspect of it, but of course, because we do in that way we have a lot of participants. We're going to have to do it in a regular roundtable format with limits. So as people share, unless there's a particular presentation that evening, at least in the check-in side, that people are brief. We'll end up with a 3-hour session where no one knows when to come in to cover their interests and when to leave. Next on the list, KD4 Izette Jack. This is AA4FL. Jack, tell me a little bit about your take on the subject.
Yeah, WA6 GDF. Thank you. You're very welcome. Have a great day.
It's been great during COVID, um, but there's no, for me, it does it doesn't offer an awful lot more, unless there's programmed content, so to speak. Um, Not that I don't enjoy socializing briefly, but it's just I guess, my peculiarity in the way I handle things around me. Um, I am, you guys go ahead and make decisions. You will. I will participate from time to time. As you know, I'm crazy busy with too many obligations and having too much fun. So I'll be there when I can. Let's put it that way. Katie Ryan says, go ahead. Thank you, Jack. And also, as mentioned by Stephen, that maybe once a month uh, would be appropriate rather than do it every week, and then we could have a program of some sort, get volunteers and publicize that in the ether if we line the monthlies up in advance. So that's another possibility. Evening nets here in the U.S. to pose a problem for stations such as Hilton PY2 BBQ. So Hilton, if we did we got to consider the West Coast too. So if we did a Zoom session at 0030 this time of the year, we're trying to get it one year where on the East Coast of the United States, say it's 8:30, and the West Coast 5:30. Would that work for you, and what do you think about the idea in general? PY2 BBQ, go ahead.
Okay, yes, I'm transmitting A4FL and Marco DV Group. This is PY2 BBQ Hilton from São Paulo, Brazil. And please, Jay, confirm the UTC time of the Zoom meeting. Over.
Well, this one currently would be 0030, half an hour past 0000. But at times of the year, that would change because we want to try to keep the local time where individuals on the East Coast and West Coast of the United States can participate, and that may shift by an hour when we have a shift in our daylight savings time. QSL?
QSL 0030. That would be 9:30 p.m. Here in São Paulo. It's a good timing. I think it would be nice to participate at this time. It will be a problem here in São Paulo. No dinner time, no lunch time, no Valentine's Day, and so on. So, good morning, everybody. Uh, some updates here from São Paulo, Brazil. We're still going with the vaccination against the COVID-19. More than 62 million people received the first doses, 25 million people the two doses, but that's just 11.55% of the population. And, the speed of the vaccination is increasing, the rate is increasing. We are vaccinating about 1.5 million people every day in this last week. So the projection is that it reaches 2 million people daily, and probably here in my state in São Paulo, we'll have the whole adult population vaccinated to the end of September. That's the projection. Meanwhile, the new cases and the number of deaths are stable, but of course stable in a high level, about 2,000 deaths daily in an average, and 70 to 80,000 new cases daily as well. Wait, what? UI2BBQ, and DVNet. All right, and this week probably we will reach a very sad number of deaths here in Brazil. We are almost reached 500 million people dead from COVID-19 in Brazil. Well, uh, this week I have sent to the email group a study that was just published in the New England Journal of Medicine. And the interest of that study, it's because it was running in the hospital I work here in São Paulo, that is the Albert Einstein Hospital. And they tried a treatment with a molecule produced by Pfizer, which is the tofacitinib. This it was to randomize patients with uh, COVID-19 uh, pneumonia, hospitalized patients with pneumonia, and compared tofacitinib with the placebo. And the expected result was to compare the development of respiratory insufficiency and death within 28 days. And what they found was a decrease in the risk, a lower risk of death or respiratory failure through day 28 in the group of patients with the tofacitinib. The respiratory failure risk decreased from 29% to 18%, and the death risk rate risk decreased from 5.5% to 2.8%. So that's interesting because it's a drug that blocks the effect of cytokines and also decrease the production of cytokines. So in the beginning, we were afraid of those immune compromised patients, but what we need to be aware of is of those with higher inflammatory response, and those with the higher risk, and those are the ones that will benefit from this kind of treatment. So that's the story here in São Paulo, Brazil. Back to the Net Control A4FL UI2BBQ.
Hilton, thank you very much for sharing on the Google list and also sharing here with us on the net. We appreciate that valuable information. N3IM, Keith, I'll turn the mic over to you. I hope you're having a good morning here up in Pennsylvania.
Hey, A4FL in the group. This is N3IM. We're expecting some severe weather later today. We had a rather significant rainstorm during the night with a massive downpour, but otherwise everything's going okay up here in central Pennsylvania. Break. To follow up on something I said last week on the Zoom thing, my Yaesu FTDX3000, after 2 hours with HRD in my computer and looking at this software, and a half hour with Tim Factor out of Yaesu, my radio's on the way back to California for a look-see as to why the front buttons on my radio froze up when I upgraded the HRD software. Great. Not sure why, because HRD was still running the radio appropriately and doing what it should do. It was just that you could not get into the menu to change any settings. You couldn't change frequencies from the front panel. Just none of the push buttons other than on and off would work. All of the tuning dials and the other dials worked fine. So I'm not sure what happened there, but it's on its way to California for a look-see. So that's it from here. AA4FL in the group. This is N3IM.
Keith, I hope you get that resolved here quickly and they find an answer. I can sympathize with you. I had a problem with SAT PC32 in my TS2000 where everything froze and it never was a problem with any other software. So I hope that all that is resolved here quickly and that others are having similar issues, so that will assist you in getting it resolved. Sorry to hear about the storms, but speaking of storms, Chuck, N5RTF, please tell us how things are going in NOLA.
Well, good morning to the group. This is N5RTF. Yeah, Claudette finally got a name as it came ashore around Houma, Louisiana. We were on the wet and windy side, and Pontchartrain came and got about a 2 to 3 foot storm surge. But we could handle that easily, and nobody had any problems. We personally got about 2.5 inches of rain, and now the sun's trying to come out. So it's this was a very minor storm as those go. Wait one. Two more comments. One, I was thinking about the Zoom format for technical discussions, and I was thinking about a app that I use frequently. This is it's actually a website, Stormcast forums. This is stormcast.com, and they have forums, and they have you can have multiple forums, multiple threads, lots of people communicating back and forth, and a permanent record of it. So I'm wondering if perhaps with technical information, a blog format might not be good, because once somebody solves a problem, it's there for everybody to see forever. On Zoom meeting, you have to have somebody who recalls the solution, looks it up, and recites it again the next time somebody runs into it. There's no permanent record of it unless you just want to go through hours and hours of Zoom meetings. So maybe a blog format, either as an alternative or as a backup to the Zoom meetings. Wait one. And the third thing is sort of a personal note. We put in an offer yesterday for a new house, which will not be our permanent or our full-time residence, but it's down in the swamp. It's outside the levee system, in the middle of about 100,000 acres of salt marsh. The area is called Venetian Isles, and it's actually within the New Orleans city limits. And the place is on the water, so you could, if you had a boat of sufficient size, you could put it in the backyard and go anywhere in the world. But the fishing is good, and there are no deeds, no covenants, no restrictions. I can put up whatever antenna I want there. So that may be an advantage as far as some of the nets are concerned. If this plays out okay, there's still financing and everything else to go through before we move in. N5RTF clear.
Boy, Jeff, can't think of better reflectivity also than that. You're really going to have a killer signal. Hopefully you get that worked out and get everything approved, and I'm sure you have plenty of elevation there for making sure that you're protected on a daily basis. And I know you guys know all all the other factors. Better than I do for your local. Best of success with that. Hope it all works out to your liking, Jeff. I look forward to hearing more about it. WJAD, this is AA4FL with the Medical Amateur Radio Council Digital Voice Net. Go ahead, Andrew.
Well, good morning, everybody on the net. Things here in Central Ohio pretty good. We had some thunderstorms yesterday, but nothing severe in this area. We had some severe winds down in southwestern Ohio and also in northeastern Ohio, Central Ohio, and this we just got rain and a little bit of lightning and thunder. As far as the technical help, Zoom meetings, they're nice, but they're also cumbersome and they're hard to schedule, particularly in the summer months. I'm always willing to help people technically, particularly at the end of this net, answer questions. I'm not as good as one of the hotnet administrators like Will. I don't have those details, but I certainly know hotspots quite well and have experience with all three of the major modes. On the medical front, read one thing that was kind of interesting. This was in the Washington Post where they're treating drug addiction with deep brain stimulation. It's actually a surgical procedure. Thought that was a little bit unusual, something to talk about. On the amateur radio front, we're setting up a field-based station. I started working on that this past week and got a major thing done yesterday. Got the generator running and been running for a while. We're going to be operating with a call sign November 8th, Oscar Charlie November. And we were running the Echo class. Looks like now it'll be a 3 Echo during field day. And hopefully others will get a chance to experience that as well. So I'm going to hear everybody this morning. And back to you, Jay, for a call from WJB.
WJAB, AA4FL, best of success with your field day outing. May the weather be in your favor, and we have great band conditions and an enjoyable time. N9OML, Howard, go ahead.
Good morning to everybody on the net. As far as your first roundtable question, I wouldn't want to be thought of as a vote. I'm too new and at the moment too itinerant a participant, but my 2 cents worth is it's really tough to make a schedule for a group like this with all the disparate schedules people have and the geographic areas that participants are in. To schedule a new time to be conflicted with even just the existing nets, let alone everything else that happens in real life. A possibility regarding scheduling Zoom calls might be to do them ad hoc when during the course of the net you identify something that you think would be better covered in a Zoom call with the group that's on the net at that time, agree at a relatively near future, short horizon time frame when you want to schedule it, and then publicize it to the larger membership, because otherwise it's really tough to coordinate that many schedule. More to follow. So that would be my thoughts on that. I did read one medical article that might be worthy of discussion. I'll send it back to that control for now, and you can let me know if you want me to go further in that direction or if you want that. So people who checked in earlier still get a relatively quick shot so this doesn't run too long. So back to net control.
Well, thank you, Howard. And I am going to come back to you in just a moment and let you go ahead and discuss the article. One opportunity here. Let's take a moment for any late check-ins. Anyone that has not checked in or is listening and wants to check in because they want to be able to discuss a particular topic. Address your call to AA4FL Net Control for the Medical Amateur Radio Council Digital Voice Net. Go ahead and make your call this time. Okay, no late check-ins heard. N9OML. Howard, go ahead and make your presentation.
It stems from an article I read on Medscape. I regret when I read it I wasn't thinking by way of doing a briefing, so some of this will be by memory, and I'll drop the company names just in case I get something wrong. But I identified one of them as the largest insurer in the United States, and another one is a similarly sized medical insurance company. It had to do with the billing of patients or the refusal to pay claims from patients for emergency room visits. The prevailing standard for being paid in the emergency department, in this article at least, and I don't know whether that stemmed from regulation, statute, or court decisions, or just industry standard, was whether a layperson would reasonably think that they may have an emergency situation that requires that kind of medical care, or at least assessment. And the next level of review is whether a emergency medicine doctor at the hospital agreed and then performed services, or whether it was simply a referral. So what it appeared they were talking about in this article was that two companies, one implementing it already, the other announcing implementation, and both of them apparently backing off during COVID, had been looking at, and one actually doing it, where they would decline payment after treatment had been given, saddling the patient with really large bills. And they were doing that with their own internal review, not necessarily by a physician. Break, more to follow. The article made reference to the types of conditions where a patient might reasonably be unsure of what to do next. And in most cases, as a medic in the field, we would advise, in the situations they raise, to go and be seen, and leave it to the physicians or PAs and Ps in the emergency department to decide whether that patient could then be referred back to a physician or to another outpatient clinic for later follow-up, or whether it was appropriate to do testing or treatment in an emergent fashion. And I guess the change they were really saying is, instead of going along with that type of judgment, they were going to judge, after the bills are incurred by the patient, whether the decision that it was emergency was appropriate. Allegedly to save insurance companies money. From my own observations, I think, though, well, I'm sure it would save some money for the insurance companies. Excuse me, they said it was to save the system's money, hospital included. I think it would save the insurance companies money. It appeared to me, more to follow. It appeared to me during my clinical time in the emergency room or in the field that the patient population that was using the emergency room for their primary care, or the patients that showed up with their bags packed for having their glucose straightened out if they were, real diabetics with no other care, or if they were end-stage renal disease showing up every X number of days to gain access to hemodialysis, probably weren't insured by the major insurance companies. So the people getting squeezed, it appeared from my reading, would be sort of the middle tier again. And it was a rough spot. It's a hard decision. I just thought it was interesting. I hope I presented it reasonably well. But the change from emergency medicine treatments being paid for, as opposed to emergency medical treatments being retroactively refused. And at that point, I guess we'll send it back to net control. If anyone's interested in the actual article, I found it in Medscape. It was under emergency medicine and the current medical news. And I know
K3FZT.
Okay, thank you, Howard. For acknowledging K3FZT. Go ahead, Stephen.
As an emergency physician of 45 years practice, including the vast majority of that time leading departments, and doing billing and supporting a group practice. The oversimplifications in articles as presented are somewhat stunning. The challenges emergency physicians face in getting paid for their work is quite remarkable and multifactorial. And this recent assault is merely compounding an already difficult set of circumstances. Further discussion in this forum would probably be distracting and lengthy. So I'll turn it back to the net for you to moderate the ongoing activities of the net. Back to you, JAA4FL. This is K3FZT.
Okay, and I'm Al and K3FZT. Thank you for the discussion about the article, and I look forward to seeing the link. Howard, are you on the Google group where you can share the link to the article with us in general? Over.
I am not. I can email you a link, although I'm not sure. I'll have to do a little searching to figure out how Netscape got the article. I've had trouble sending Netscape articles to people before. Does your call sign at ARRL.net forward to you?
QSL, Howard, also listed on QRZ as well. But whichever, I'd appreciate it, and I can certainly circulate it to the group. Just write a little bit of introduction, and I'll just basically forward what you write me. QSL?
Sounds good. I'll try and get something done in the next few days. I don't have answers. It seemed like an unreasonable, after the fact, kind of change in the policy that's going to leave patients potentially avoiding care that should be emergent, and it sort of circumvents the judgment of the entire system, all the EM docs and the like, for someone reviewing it at an insurance company after the fact. And it changes the standard. So I thought it might be of interest. I'll try and pull it up and try and get something sent to you, sir. And then I'll back to Net Control.
Thank you very much, Howard. I look forward to sharing your email with the group. Thank you once again for participating and being here on the net. WW6AA. Merrill, good early morning to you. Go ahead.
Merrill, and in Long Beach, California, and from the California perspective, the pandemic is over. Everything has been opened back to normal, although it's interesting that in the affluent neighborhoods, in the supermarkets, there's still about 20% of the people wearing masks. And other than that, I'm neutral on Zoom, and I was interested in Howard's discussion on what was happening in terms of care. I'd like to see the group move into more of these discussions where there's change the direction of the world. The one that I'm with right now is the cost of medicines. I was an ophthalmologist, and I've been retired for about 10 years, and my wife recently has had some dry eye problems. So they put her on a new medicine called Zerdra, and this dry eye medicine only costs $900 a month. Amazing. So I'll give that back to the group. WW6AA is listening.
Well, thank you, Merrill. That sounds like liquid gold to me, or liquid diamonds. Yeah, it's an issue, obviously. A complicated one at that. A national dilemma. Well, I don't know about the digital net here, but we had talked about having ad hoc discussion groups. So we could always schedule a Zoom meeting for those that are interested in discussing that subject matter.